if I, in my 20s, I grew up, even before my 20s, as a young boy, you know, I would be sent to go and buy boroto, you know, and when we were buying bread at our time, they were never put in plastics. They would, you know, tear. Sometimes it would be a newspaper, but somehow they actually changed and it would be like a plain white paper, a little piece, and they will put it on top of the loaf and you hold the loaf there. And the loaf bread of that time, the crust,
because it was so fresh.
The crust was hard. Today's crust is soft. It stays soft.
Yes.
Nearly hard the crust that thing. Oh yeah, you know, because it was crunchy. Now, I'd be a young boy having been sent to go buy bread. And as I'm coming across a corner, there will be like teenage boy and girl standing with the corner ke mojolo. And as you are passing, you would hear mpamer. You grow up. It's something that is prevalent in your environment. It's also even happening. And it's not only happening in my family. It's happening in many families. So one thing that we are not doing is we are not addressing gender-based violence in how it happens. But again, we lump it up. When somebody goes and rapes and kills, it's gender-based violence. But we've got to separate it. There is gender-based violence that happens. What is it? IPV? Interpartner violence.
Yes, interpersonal partner violence.
Yes.
Or domestic violence.
Domestic violence. Yeah. There is a difference how those things happen, and we are not addressing those. And at the end of the day, we want to address men to be mindful of it. But as if men, I don't know of a man who would be sitting with his girlfriend and say, baby, you know, you make me so happy. I want to kick you. It doesn't happen like that.
So, is this the first time you're sharing about that time in your 20s when you were physically abusive?
No, it's not.
Now, the reason I'm asking that, we know one of the more famous actors who was very vocal, the late Patrick Shine.
Exactly, yeah.
And you're saying our leaders are not being honest. My theory is, if they have to be honest, if you look at our cabinet, statistically, some of them are abusers or have been abusers. And we're speaking specifically physical abuse. So if you have to bring it home, it means people have to have real conversations about themselves, which goes back to, if you have to own up to who you are, it can't just be the successes. It has to also be that. So I'm going to ask you this then as a man, because now you're being vocal about it. What was going through your mind when those moments were happening? Was it like, I'm angry, I need to discipline her? Was it, why is she not, like, I want to get into the mind of Sello, the 20-something-year-old.
I just love the way you're asking me.
No, because I genuinely want to understand what happens in your mind. And I've interviewed somebody who used to abuse his wife. And for him, he was telling me about how his friends would say, you know, you can't let her walk all over you. And there were, you know, situations, other dynamics into play around her making her own money and all of those things. So he said to me, every time Namo Shapa was to discipline her and to put her in her place, right? But I don't want to just take one man's experience and apply it to everybody. So I don't know. And I don't know if it was fear, like I just want to get into the mind of the 20-year-old guy.
You know, one thing about life is that everybody has a reason. That's what makes life interesting. Everybody has a reason for doing what they do. And the reason will never be a blanket reason. You know what I mean? So,
and I'm not using this question to justify anything, but more to say, if we are going to try solve these problems, this is having a real conversation. This is the part of Nokhuetsa.
Here's one thing that happened, because it happened and I would do it. But when I'm alone, Then there's that little voice that says, "Man, I'm doing wrong." I guess that's what you do. How many times people do things and have a justification for it. And when they hear that little voice that says, "Mari wrong," I'm glad that that voice, I think, became more sonorous. And it kept on and it kept on and led me to the point where I would say to her, I said, "You know what? I don't understand this. That one moment I say I love you, and then one moment I hate you. It doesn't make sense to me." Now, that causes you to do what? To introspect.
Not for everybody.
Not for everybody, exactly.
Some people use that to deflect.
Even more.
Yeah.
Even
to
more.
now say,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And now I think that's where I said, nah, nobody makes me do something that I don't want. So even if I'm doing it, it's not that it's that person who's making me do it. I am doing it, but why? And then I discovered I'm insecure. I'm jealous. And another thing is, I used to have, it's still there, a starter,
Really?
Yes. Sometimes when I hit my dramatic pauses in my acting,
You can feel.
Starter.